you have a home service business and you're trying to go from $0 to $3 million in annual revenue, this video is for you. This is actually a question and answers session that I had with over 20 home service business owners that are all trying to grow their business past that 7-figure marker. And we're going to be talking about sales, operations, and admin at every single size of business and what you need to do to be able to get the business to the next level. So all of their questions are really revolving around the business model they're trying to build, whether they should do multiple locations, how they should hire general managers, and overall the structure of fixing the off season for their specific industry. So without any further delay, get ready for a marathon of questions and answers. Here we go.
So if you were to ask a technician on a rainy week, how's your capacity? They're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm slammed. I'm barely going to be able to get everything done. That's different than in August when your lawns aren't growing like crazy. So can you define for us a little bit of a broader spectrum understanding of capacity corporately, structurally? What is my understanding of capacity supposed to be so that I can decide the entire company is going to move into profit mode or back into growth mode at this time?
Great question. So it all comes down to the amount of budget hours that someone can complete as an employee. Now, does that number change between employees? Yes. Does that change based upon the time, the weather? Yes. And so, do you mind me asking, do you use Homeworks or like Copilot right now or not?
We're on service autopilot.
Perfect. Yep. So they fortunately do have budget hour column. You can just manually do it outside. Inside Homeworks, we have it where you can see it on a week or per month schedule, and then you can see the individual's capacity. So the reason I'm saying that is because all you really need to know is how many budget hours of capacity do I have? What comprises of that is individual people on your team. We generalize, as I say in the book, 30 budget hours or 75% capacity for a 40-hour week. Because most people are not going to drive time, load time, etc. Now, I know that some people is 28. Some people are 32. Some people are 38 in terms of their capacity. That's why, like in Homeworks, you can individually change the budget hours for each user, what their capacity is per week. Down the road, I'd like to do it per day because that also plays into it. That being said, I would look at, especially as you grow in terms of size, much more holistically in terms of how many budget hours can I complete in a week on average. And that's why I use the 30 budget hours per full-time employee as a very broad stroke. Now, if you have really good drive time, for example, and you have really tight routes, that number could easily be 85, 90%, very easily. What we do is we move that 30 budget hours based upon the time of year slightly. So during the spring rush, to your point, we usually bring that down to around 27 or 28 at my location. During the summer, when the guys are just flying through stuff, we usually move that to like 34 or 35 in terms of the budget hours that can get done. This is why in the summer, guys are doing lawns fast. They're like getting off like after 5 hours, 6 hours worth of work. And you're like, man, if I just had more jobs, I could fill their schedule more. Their capacity of budget hours is increasing because the conditions for them to do the work are improving. Also, if you get better equipment and they can go more efficiently, also increases their budget hour capacity, right? And so I would look at much more holistically in terms of number of budget hours on the schedule. And like in Homeworks, when you schedule a visit, it actually shows what your capacity is for the next 4 weeks. So you know, as a total, am I overbooked? Am I close to being overbooked? Do I need to watch the weather a little bit because it could be a little hairy? So there's some advantages there, just like seeing budget hours. But yes, to your point, capacity does change based on weather. It changes based on skill level. So if you have a whole bunch of new guys in the field, they're not going to be completed 30 budget hours in a week. Like between them and their trainer, they might get 40 done. And so it slows the trainer down because you got this newbie along with them, right? So all of these are definitely variables. Ultimately, though, capacity needs to be determined by budget hours, and budget hours need to be accurate. And so what I see some people do is they'll raise prices, and when they raise prices, all they do is increase budgeted hours. And the problem with that, because like, for example, let's say it's $80 per cut. I'm just going to use mowing for an example. Okay, we raise prices to 100, but I keep my hourly rate at 80. Now, instead of one budget hour on the job, they're getting 1.25. And so now all of a sudden, again, randomly increases my capacity. I don't want that. I want budget hours to be accurate at all times. So in that case, instead of raising the amount that I am giving budget hours, I would raise my hourly rate to $100 per hour. So my budget hours stay fixed. And so the problem I see most people actually making around capacity is their budget hours are not accurate. So assuming that is accurate, then I can start figuring out like seasonality. You can start bringing, okay, I'm going to do 28 per person. During the summer, it's going to be 34, 35, 36 budget hours per person. But then knowing approximately per week how many budget hours you can do within the constraints of how many employees you have is the key. Also, I talk about having personal capacity, or sorry, labor capacity, which is what we've been talking about, budget hours. The next thing is asset capacity, because you can increase labor capacity. In other words, how many budget hours can my crew get done by increasing your asset capacity? In other words, buying more trucks, right? And there's also structural things like better route density you can also do to increase their capacity. You could switch out capacity in that regard for the word efficiency, right? Like if my guys get more efficient, they can therefore get more budget hours done per week, right? Can I answer your question, Drew? Sorry, I was kind of
Yeah, it does.
over.
Yeah, that was great.
Awesome. Yeah, and then in terms of different employees, I 100% agree, and that's why P4P is so powerful. Because as they get more efficient, and there is someone that is more capable and completes 38 budget hours to everyone else's 28, yeah, across my entire team, I'm looking at 30 budget hours per person, but they're always way above. They should be making way more money. And that's why then tying budget hours to their compensation is the thing that starts making budget hours be super consistent. Like we can book out way out in the future with certainty of days of a project. Cause like I am very confident my crew will finish their routes because their compensation is tied to budget hours. So they might say, hey boss, it's raining tomorrow. Can I just work 16 hours the next day, take tomorrow off? Cause I know I'll be able to be way more efficient. And they'll do that instead of just sitting in the truck and having the heat on for the first day, right? So when we switched to P4P, we saw that their capacities level out a lot more instead of having huge spikes and then valleys. Derek, yellow.
All right. How's it going? Thank you. Hey, everybody. So mine will be a little different, obviously, because everything is mainly lawn care and landscape. So watched a lot of the content and read the books and stuff like that. And I've kind of tweaked it towards my industry, right? Cool. So I want to do the multi-location. That's kind of the path I want to explore. My current location, I'm like a hybrid of like the working GM slash
full-time,
not or the full-time GM. Yeah. So everything runs without me on a day-to-day. And I don't answer phones. I have an assistant that answers the phones. I got drivers that do all that do the deliveries. A lot of orders come in online or she takes the orders, right? So I'm at the point where, what is the determining factor where I know the second location is something that I should focus on? Because obviously, like you were saying, once everything runs, if you've got the revenue, you've got the income, then you can gauge it to go to the second one. Sometimes I feel like I'm not really doing much because I'm focusing on like SOPs, marketing, stuff like this. And I feel like I have a lot of time where I could go branch and start the second location. And I guess I'm just kind of wondering, like, what is the actual gauge that tells me good to go? And then I have a secondary question after you answer.
Are you asking if you're good to go in terms of leaving your current location or if you should do a multiple location, like a secondary location?
No. If I'm ready to go to the second location.
Yeah, if the business can run without you, like if someone can become a customer, everything gets done in terms of the work and everything that goes along with that, including training the employees. So usually that's the last thing people can get out of operations for is training new employees and hiring them, right? Okay. So the actual training and hiring of a new team member is usually the last thing that people will let go of. And that's why in the book, I talk a lot about like using a software platform where they submit videos, because that's something that's probably the hardest thing for a GM to learn is hiring. They can usually train pretty decently if you have a good system and a good checklist, and especially in your like it's you would make this a checklist. It's the hiring part that you don't really want them to learn on your dime,
right?
And so that's where I think you could do a lot of video-based interview and application stuff. Use any sort of ATS, applicant tracking software.
So we do that now. So
okay, cool.
We have like when our applicants submit an application, we require them to send a video. But I'm doing the hiring. My drivers are doing the training. So I built out like a whole training SOP, like a field training so they have to go through the steps. They got 90 days, all this stuff. My guys are doing all that. So I'm doing the actual hiring now.
Okay. How many stops per day do they have on the truck usually?
Around 14.
Oh, wow.
It's hard because like we can do a ton of deliveries.
Okay.
But when we start throwing pickups in, we gotta drive to the site, pick it up. We've got to drive to the landfill, dump it, and then we got to drive to the next site. So that varies daily. If we have deliveries, I mean, we can just rapid fire because it's just deliver, go to the closest yard, deliver. But last year we ran 2 trucks and we were running, I mean, basically 12 to 14 hours a day, every single day. Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays were 8-hour days. And then I bought a 3rd truck at the end of the year. Obviously, it's basically bled me for the last couple of months, but knowing that come spring we're going to need it. My thought process, though, when talking with my team is that I'm on the mindset like you speak of the 800,000 in revenue, the small team, and I could just raise my prices slightly. I can't get away with a 20% increase, just because of how the market works with dumpsters. I mean. We all have the same item. We have a metal box that people put trash in, but at the same time, most people are looking for the cheapest metal box. Not that we are, but to raise it substantially, I won't be able to get away with that. And so I was thinking that with this 3rd truck, if I raise up prices a little bit, which is going to slow my intake down, keep those guys busy still 10, 12 hours a day doing all these deliveries, I could take the 3rd truck and branch off and start another location.
Yeah, and I think so typically the safest way to start another location is going to be increasing the asset capacity, like you have, buying the 3rd truck, and then starting to market in the new territory, knowing that it's going to be inefficient to drive back and forth, whatever, but it's the safest way to do it, which is, okay, so like how far is the new market? Like 45 minutes away?
Yeah, there's another question with that. But basically, 30 miles is what we do now. Okay. So I would go right outside that 30 mile to where I get the next 30 miles.
Exactly. So you just start accepting those customers. Change your website, like to accept that service area. I would, in the perfect world, this is from just Augusta knowing this, I would start another website. So for example, like if you have yellowbins.com, do yellowbins.com/territory name, and then do a second one, which is like a branched of your website stuff. And then start a new Google listing in that market. So you'll rank better. Because if you just extend your service area, you'll increase a little bit. If you get a second Google page with a website that's designed just for that location, way better.
Okay.
So I would do those.
Physical address.
Physical address. Even if it means giving someone a free bin and saying, "Hey, get the verification inside your new territory. Get a Google page. Get a website built specifically for that market." And it looks like 2 locations, just like we do at Augusta. You can see like we have different pages, different everything, and then. If it goes bad, the worst thing you're gonna have to do is close down a Google page and a Facebook or and a website. That's it.
Okay.
If it goes well and starts taking off, that's when you say, okay, and I'm gonna get some space over there to park. I'm gonna get a second truck. I'm gonna find a general manager, and then you copy and paste.
And so basically, we already kind of do like your same concept. So I have like my current trucks and the dumpsters at a storage yard. I do own the storage yard, but it is an RV lot, and I rent spaces for myself. But in this other territory, I've already got the storage yard, like where I've talked to them. I've got the pricing. Not we're going to commit, but I've got all those things in works. Currently building the website right now. We're changing the homepage to where when they do select book, they will choose the location.
So that will reduce your conversion by like 40%.
It will reduce it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying like having 2 different pages. Like everyone wants to make it easy for them, but the customer, as soon as you put that there, that will reduce your conversion massively. Okay. So for example, we tested this at the very beginning with Augusta. It was like, okay, we can just have one form and then they choose their location. As soon as we did that, immediately, even at 10 locations, it dropped our conversion to it because they have to think about what's going on.
Right. So separate ads then for that area with a separate URL, like separate landing page, like all that. Okay.
Everything.
Yeah, I think that's all that's on my head right now. So
cool. Yeah, like the lowest risk way to do multiple locations is extend service area, start marketing it with a separate website, and then when it's ready, you break it off for the sake of saving all that drive time. Because you're not going to be profitable when you're driving 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes back. Right. It's going to be super inefficient, especially with 14 stops. Let's call it even 8 or 9 or 10 in a day. Like you just lost all your profit. So it's not going to be profitable, but it's more safe so that when you do break it off and you do start parking the truck over there and hiring an employee, from day one, they're above break even.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Hannah and Nick, you're up.
So we're going through, obviously, using the off season to work on our systems and things, and I've been going back to the basics on our pricing models. We've kind of been doing the thing of like, what's the market rate, and then we fit within that. But going back to that, I don't know how involved I need to get into this price sheet, or if I should just be continuing on with the market rate. I know that you have, I just finished up a couple of your online courses, the landscape business course and other stuff. And
So
so,
are you thinking about temporarily reducing prices to capture market share? Is that what you're thinking about doing now?
yeah, we want to be able to go into the market this year with an offer that's, like Hermosi
Correct.
says, stupid if you said no. And we liked your idea about the free low cost things like the fertilization stuff, because we already have the licensing for that stuff. But where do you go there? So yeah, well, I guess how deep do you usually recommend going with that?
Yeah, what's your close rate last year? Do you know, Nick?
We don't, because we didn't really track it. We had a majority of our work coming from project management companies, and so that was a big
Well,
problem.
we didn't do advertising last year. We put out 2 years ago, we put out like 3,000 flyers, direct mail, not every door direct, but
Hmm.
got a list, sent them out to high income homes, and we've been working off of that for projects ever since. And then the lawns has just been organic growth from where our crews have been for the most part.
But if you had to guess of estimates that you send, not necessarily from
Oh
ads, but
gosh,
just estimates sent in general, is like 50% close, 70% close? Where are you at?
probably like 70.
Yeah, it was like, so we could increase our prices based on that.
Yeah, like I don't think you need to reduce prices to make an offer so good that people don't say no.
Okay.
Especially because you're at 70%. If you would have told me, hey, we're like 30%, 35%, okay, then I would say, okay, if you lower prices, you will probably capture more share of the market. I think if you lower prices, you are simply going to cut into your margin and have an 80% close rate. That's what's going to happen. And if you just look at last year, let's say it's 20, you're 25% profit. Okay, we give someone 20% off. Is that really going to make an offer so good they can't refuse? Probably not. But you just gave away all of your margin for probably going from a 70% close rate to an 80% close rate. Because there's going to be 10% of the market. If you charge $1, they're not using you, right? So like they're just not, it's like you're going after like the lowest value customers by getting this by lowering price. I would be much more looking at things like a freebie, things that are low cost to you but high value to them. So for example, we mentioned before, like a correlation is $200. You can mark it as a $200 giveaway instead of just lowering your price and giving all of your margin away. Give a freebie that costs you maybe $20 in labor to be able to give that away. If you're really trying to, again, I am assuming you're trying to grow to capacity, right? You're trying to backfill and fill up your truck. Great. So that's the goal. Let's not give away all of our profit margin in perpetuity by lowering price on a per service basis. Let's just give them an offer up front that can absolutely, increase, customers coming in. But I don't think you really have a problem with when it comes to close rate, like your pricing. I don't think your pricing is the problem. It sounds like it's a promotion, like we've never promoted, right? So like when we promote, yes, you might not have a 70% close rate. That would be a very interesting number to know. When I do actual advertising and I get leads, what's my close rate then? But based upon 70% of customers saying yes now, I don't think pricing is going to be moving the needle much. It's going to be much more an upfront offer, and then you just nailing what type of promotion you're doing, whether it be door hangers or yard signs or whatever you're going to do. Nailing that is going to be the thing, not pricing.
So then our next question is, with both of us being operators, I've been in the landscaping industry for 15 years, and then Nick's been like 5, I think, now.
Yeah, something like that.
So do you have a recommendation on how to, like, our goal was kind of to split things up and start to have one person staying home and working on systems a little bit more, but we've been so busy and we have projects that we were trying to be stopped with last year, they're carrying over into this year. So we're planning on having one of us run projects and one of us run maintenance, but do you have a recommendation on how to split up roles so that we're not overlapping and frustrating our employees and frustrating each other?
Yeah, 100%. Sales, operations, and admin. We got to figure out which of those you both are going to go into, and then which one you're going to split or delegate. Right? So sales is going to be the highest leverage. Operations is going to be slightly lower. Admin is going to be the lowest. So first off, I want to make sure, like, first off, when it comes to sales, which of you immediately like, I'm the salesperson, or is it kind of we just do both of us?
It's kind of both of us, because I think that we're both pretty good with customers. I think that if it's more of a project based, then I go over there. If it's a maintenance thing, then she usually does. But yeah, it's kind of 50-50.
Okay, I've seen some couples do this decently well where it's like, hey, everything to a sales operation admin for projects, and then everything to a sales operation admin for maintenance. And they really make it a service division. The challenging part with that now becomes if either of you leave for a couple days, you have a problem, like a big problem in their departments. Because Hannah doesn't know how the projects are being ran, how it was sold, and who's over here working, and vice versa. So that can become a huge constraint and put a lot of stress on the relationship. I think if I was you, I'd be trying, like, are you trying to grow like down the road?
Yeah. Our goal is to stop all projects temporarily, grow the maintenance side, and then the irrigation is a lot easier to get a higher margin on in our area. So we're trying to do a flat rate irrigation system for like 90% of the irrigation stuff so that we can maximize our budgeted hour profit. And then, but right now the goal is finish out the projects that we've already committed to, and that's it. We're not taking on any new projects. We're focusing on, maintenance first. And then once we have one location that's able to grow, maybe 2 locations, then we'll start growing like a 3rd location that's basically operating in tandem with those 2 that's pure irrigation.
Cool. And what was revenue last year?
60 or 625.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Like,
It's going to be different this year, though. It's going to be a whole new situation for us because we lost a big client in Washington. We already spoke to you about that on a previous call. So that's why we completely got rid of Washington. We're only operating in North Idaho now, and we're trying to focus on the higher income markets with full service from spring turn on to your fall blowouts, maintenance packages that just split up into monthly payment. But it's going to be different than how we operated because we're going to be done with commercial.
right. Who's better at operations, like dealing with the team? Or you guys are going to split that too?
We both can fill the role. Like, this is the hard part, is that there's not really any like thing that one of us can't do for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
I think as far as the maintenance goes, I would be the better person with the team because I've done it for so
projects.
long.
And we're getting rid of projects, right? So
Getting
like
rid of projects, yeah.
Short term, yeah.
For the short, yeah, until
right. Irrigation.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I think that from the fact that we have a project limitation in terms of skill, I would probably be pushing Nick try to move into sales and Hannah into operations. Because if we're trying to get rid of a lot of the big projects, that means Hannah, you should be able to do most operations and lead the team, make sure everyone's dialed in. Anything with doing the work is you. Anything with getting the work, that's going to be all Nick, right? And yes, you can do that, which is great because if Nick needs to go out, you could cover the estimates, right? Especially because now it's going to be mostly maintenance, and you can push off irrigation because rarely is it a 911 situation, right? The delineation though between sales and operations is this getting the work or is this doing the work? Very simply. And if I was you guys, I would write down everything you guys do on a daily basis and then just ask yourself, is this sales or is this operations? And then the other categories would be admin. And I think that's the role I would be trying to delegate if I was you both, because both of you have skills that are higher leverage than admin. So whether it be a part-time admin person locally or it be a virtual assistant, I think spending time making those systems and handing all admin off is what allows you to get over $1 million by Nick focusing on sales, Hannah on operations, and then having an admin person take that stuff off your plate. But you'll need to get really clear in terms of here's everything I do in sales, here's everything I do in operations, and here's everything I do in admin. And when there's a gray area, you both look at each other and say, which of these 3 categories should this fall into? So that way you're not stepping on each other's toes. The team knows exactly who to go to when it comes to calling out. Operations. Oh, there's something wrong on my equipment. Operations. Okay, there's something wrong. I need to do a work order change. That's sales. That's getting the work. So the clarity for the team, but more importantly, the both of you to know who does what. And then there's going to be obviously times where sales is really heavy and operations is not. And you could compensate for each other and help each other out. But it's clear in terms of who do we, like the buck stops with sales with Nick. It stops everything with operations. If we're running way behind, we need to hire more people. That's all on Hannah. She should be thinking about the budget hour capacity and where's jobs going on the schedule. She should be communicating with the admin to be able to make sure that everything's going smoothly. I would highly recommend pushing in that direction so you don't step on each other's toes.
Okay.
Cool.
Because that's actually the thing you're trying to guard against.
Yeah. So just a quick thing for the pricing. When you say raise prices, you're talking about raising prices on your current customers, right? So then you just send out the mass text and say like, hey guys, we got to, raise prices in mid-season.
And to new customers as well.
Yeah.
Assuming that the inflow of leads is so high you can't stay up with it, right? So sometimes what people will do They'll raise prices to existing customers because they know they have good service. They know people will stick, but they'll keep their price the same for new customers because they know that that's the entry level price. They need to prove their worth before they can raise prices. But if you're like way over capacity, like leads are just pouring in, you actually need to raise both to new
Oh, okay.
customers as well as existing customers.
And do you do that mid-season,
I do it when I hit capacity,
Oh,
no
okay.
matter what?
no matter what. Because if there is like, well, it's the middle of the season or like a month left of spring rush. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Like turn away new customers, right? No, we've got to raise prices, remove our lowest value ones, and get room for space. With probably within 3 or 4 weeks, you'll replace all of them, right? And then
Yeah.
like if you're hitting capacity, it's usually you are in the spring rush, you're hitting up against it. The only reason you would not raise prices is if you think you're going to lose 20 or 30% of them, which as long as you're doing good service, it's not going to happen. But assuming that is the case, you wouldn't do that towards the end of a spring rush because then you lose them for the rest of the year. And usually, as churn kind of took your number recurring is dwindling. If you guys can figure out promotion though, that means that you can turn on promotion when you need to refill the basket of leads. That's why
Okay.
like that will be the unlock, and that's why I want some separation. I want Nick to be thinking about sales and promotion all day long. Upsells, using the texting inside of Copilot, like do all of that. That's all sales now. Like figuring out a monthly email and a monthly text based upon the entire year, you figuring out that system, having it scheduled as a to-do, remind you the day before via text message, like setting all that stuff up is the thing that allows you to be able to grow. But now you know who's responsible for it. We build custom websites for home service business owners just like you. And you can get a 15-minute free consultation about your website because our team, on average, when someone joins as a client, we increase the number of leads they get by almost double, 80% within the first 12 months. In fact, if you go to our website, you can actually go through and see all the different websites that we build for a whole bunch of different home service businesses that have taken their business to the next level. Go check it out and book a free consultation call today. Andrew's next. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, so last year I did about 256,000. It's just me and another employee. So I got myself into a bad shop space lease. Thought it was gonna work out like spacing wise and everything, but nothing works. And so I was wondering if you kind of had like any metrics as far as like revenue percentages to go to shop space, because right now I'm at like after I sign this other thing, it'll be like 33.50 a month.
Yeah, what's your monthly rate on the current lease that you have in place?
It's $2,000 a month.
And the new one's 1350?
hmm
What's the advantage of moving from the 2000 to the 1300 one? Just the cost savings of $700?
Well, the $2,000 a month is an indoor space. And so it's like extremely difficult to like park and everything. And then the actual parking for my employees outside is atrocious. And so the 1350 is a outdoor space. So it's much easier to like move stuff around and that type of thing.
How long do you still have on the existing lease?
9 months.
Okay, so it's an $18,000 mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an $18,000 mistake. Have you talked to your landlord about getting out early?
I have not. I'm going to after I have this other one set up.
Did the landlord use a real estate agent to get you to sign the lease?
Yeah.
So if I was you, I would go to them and be like, hey, here's the problem I'm having with the space right now. I've found another space and I'm wondering if you'd be willing, if I get an agent, I'm willing to pay their commission if they can come in early and try to find another tenant. And if not, that's fine. I will pay everything out. But I'm just being like, just be really upfront and honest with them because in 9 months, they're gonna have to do this anyways. If you just say, hey, can we do it earlier? And I'm willing to pay the commission on it, but like, can we just try to get this off sooner? Then maybe you pay for 2 or 3 months while they're finding a new tenant and then someone else comes and signs a new lease with them.
Okay. And then what do you have any idea of like what that commission would be, like the percentage?
You just ask them. Usually it's like, depending on you're probably looking at 3 to 4 grand, just depending, very much depending. And they might already have an arrangement with an agency, like or a brokerage. So I would just put all the cards on the table to your landlord. It's only 9 months. At the very worst, is an $18,000 mistake.
Yeah.
And we live and learn. And at the very best, you maybe pay the next 2 or 3 months, and then you can get out.
Okay. So are you like, what is your percentage? Do you have a shop space percentage? Like, am I somewhat in that right now, even with the 3350?
No, like if you grew by, grew like you're thinking you will, then yes. But like, so in the book, I talk about under 15% is the goal for all your admin. Right now, you're spending over 15% just on shop space. But for admin for me includes like answering the phone, all my utilities, everything to do with admin. So you are significantly higher than that.
Okay.
The 1350 makes a lot of sense at 400,000. Let's go. That's more like 4%. That's good. I like that.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so definitely moving to 1350. I agree. If it's also going to allow you to have like better operational efficiencies because like parking is better, et cetera, you're going to have to just rip this band-aid off. You're going to make a couple of decisions like this as you get your career up and running. You're going to make a couple of
Mm,
mistakes. It stinks. Hopefully you can get a little bit recouped by getting someone else in there. But honestly, even if you pay for 3 months and a commission, you're basically going to be at 10 grand anyways.
yeah.
Right. So it might be
Okay.
just one of those things. It's a hard lesson to learn.
Okay. And then another question I had. So with me going to around like 400,000, hopefully next year, I mean this year, keep forgetting it's February. Um, I have hired another person. He'll start in the second week of March.
Mhm.
And with that, I'm wondering, like, I'm in the working GM type thing. So I'm wondering, how will I balance like estimates and working in the field at the same time? With because we already work until like 7:30 p.m., if not later during the spring. And then doing estimates after that and everything. So how am I supposed to balance that? Is it like, should I hire someone virtual to answer the phone or whatever? And so what's your advice on that?
Yeah, like in the perfect world, if you can get someone on a per minute basis, because you probably only have one or two inbound leads a day, even during spring rush, you might be paying a couple dollars a minute. But if they can just get that information to you and answer the phone, awesome. So at your size, a per minute rate for a phone service is going to be better because you spending any time trying to hire an admin right now is not worth your time.
Hmm.
And so per minute rate is what I've been trying to find someone to answer the phone or do some admin tasks maybe for you, but you don't need a full-time admin. You don't need even a part-time. I don't want you training anyone how to answer the phone. So like that's why like answering service is going to be useful. And then also I would time block to where like let's just say call it from 5 to 7 p.m. every night. That's when you do estimates, meaning you get off at 4, 3, somewhere in there for your with your crew member, and then you're going to go out and do estimates. And if you're like,
Okay.
well, we're already working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, you're above capacity, right? So that's when you're going to have to need another employee or another
Hmm.
truck to increase capacity to be able to continue growth. Because if you're working 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, you're going to eventually break down either your body or your employee's body, and so you're
Hmm.
above capacity at that point.
Okay. And so then if since I am above capacity, then um would I with my I'm starting a second truck, because right
Mhm.
now it's just one.
Mhm.
So this year with the second truck, would I split the route that I have now? Because we mostly do only mowing. We
Mhm.
do mowing 4 days a week and then projects Friday, and
Mhm.
sometimes Saturday. So would I split my route like kind of in half, or only give them like a certain day, or like I'm not
How
really
many
sure
how
if I'm
many
above.
budget how many budget hours of mowing do you have right now per week?
Um, I'm not really sure. I'm not super
How many
like.
customers?
Oh, we did about it was about 75.
And there's per week?
Hmm.
How many of them are bi-weekly?
None of them.
Okay, so 75. Okay, great. And what's your average cost per cut?
About 70.
Okay, so you probably have about 60 budget hours worth of mowing, if I had to guess, per week, which means
Okay.
that's about two full-time people, i.e., what you're doing right now. There you go. So that's you and the other guy working. By you splitting the one truck off, they'll increase their capacity by about 20%, but you're going to need another employee pretty quickly. I would then try to get it to where the capacity of that one mowing truck is able to handle all the mowing, and then the second truck, probably you, is doing projects and estimates.
Okay. Got
That's
it.
usually a very efficient route. Like method is like one truck with two crew members doing the mowing. You know, right now, if you have 60 budget hours per week of mowing, that will keep them busy.
Hmm.
And then you open up the capacity for that second truck to do the property cleanups, do projects, and have more flexibility around your estimates.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it, brother. Derek, you're up.
All right, two quick questions that I thought of. So a little different, obviously, for me again, dumpsters, but the off season kills me
Hmm.
because nobody wants to do any work when it's cold out, and
Yep.
I need them to do something. So I will say, so about 80 to 85% of our business is a residential market. That's what we
Okay.
really focus on. We like stay-at-home moms, the handymans, so that's what we're working with. Our big thing is like clean dumpsters, like we wash our dumpsters, we do driveway surface protection, like all the fancy stuff, right? We're the bougie dumpster company. So in the off season, we just like die. Um, I don't really have any ideas. The only thing that I know that some of the other dumpster companies do, but they don't focus kind of on the primary residential like I do, is, they'll just let a can sit somewhere forever. They'll get some kind of like trash service in a way. But again, we're still like they're more expensive than like Waste Management or your general trash service, because we're talking a roll off. So I just don't know. I just want to know if you have some ideas off the top of your head.
Yeah, like what in terms of months, what are your off season? Is it just the winter?
Yeah, no, like November, we still stay decently steady, but that's when we drop. November, and then like December's just dead. January's dead. February is going to be pretty dead, and then March is going to like skyrocket. So March through like September, full throttle all the time. November's like, oh, this is nice because we're not full throttle, and then December's just like, oh, we have nothing to do.
How many of your customers are repeat customers?
Not a lot. I don't have the percentage, but I mean, not a lot. Probably like 25%.
Okay. And what's your CAC as a blended for the whole year right now?
What do you mean? What is that?
Oh, customer acquisition cost. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know the number.
So I think in the event where you don't have recurring revenue, you have to figure out how can I spend money on ads to at least break even during the off season, right?
Mhm.
So this is essentially cure number 2 inside the off season book. Have you got that one, Derek, by chance?
Actually, I think I just got it.
Cool.
After I did the webinar, I bought all 3. So yeah.
Yeah, and mikeandes.com/workshop is the digital, like the course version. It's all free. And so this is cure 2. And what you're wanting to figure out is, can I break even with my customer acquisition cost if I spent money on ads? And I would be looking at like creative things, for example, or like Christmas, Thanksgiving, people getting ready for that. They get a dumpster and do a full house clean out? Maybe. If you can give it for 50% off, can we still at least get our cogs covered? Potentially, right? And so you could just be like, hey, this is the Thanksgiving deal, this is the thing, this is the Christmas deal, this is the New Year's special, and you can just put like $9.99/$4.99, like really lean into the discounting, assuming you can drive enough demand and bring your customer acquisition cost down low enough. You might be able to at least skate by at break even.
So I do the Black Friday, the New Year's. I didn't do like Google ads for it or anything. I mean, we run Google ads constantly, but we didn't got ads for that. I did like Facebook, and then like I did the text marketing like you talked about, because we run a go high level. So I literally got like 1 or 2 rentals. I didn't slash the price. We gave like $50 off. But one of my ideas was, and again, I understand that it's everybody's opinion and whatever you want to do, but I thought about, come November, December, I come out with like winter pricing, and like straight up, let's say one of my cans is, $4.25. I come out and I'm like, it is $2.99. Now, obviously I'll run my costs, make sure we're making some money, but I would rather have my cans out rotating cash flow. And then come spring, it's just like, hey, they go back up. And obviously people question it. It's like, hey, that's winter pricing. You do your project in the winter, you get a better deal. You spring rush, because then we're always out of cans. I mean, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, like I think most people dramatically underestimate how low they can reduce their price when the alternative is making nothing. Because the only thing you need to cover is your variable expenses, which is essentially fuel and labor to get the thing there, right? And so if you can have winter pricing, by the way, also it allows the person that is, quote, price conscious and says you're really expensive to now look at a lower price. You're like, oh, hey, if that's too expensive, your immediate downsell is, hey, if you're willing to wait for your project another couple months, that just got cut in half. You save a few $100. Now, to most people doing a $15,000 remodel, that's probably not going to be enough for them to be like, oh yeah, reschedule for 3 months. That's where we want to be careful. Like, there's not a lot of price flexibility or like time flexibility for most people to like wait 5 months on this sort of.
Yeah, I think most of it's going to be just like getting people in the winter to say, you know what, I'm willing to do the work. But that's my next, and I'm trying to make this really quick because I already got to go. But I still have contractors that are ordering through the winter. So am I giving them the winter pricing? And because they're still ordering regardless.
Yeah, that's going to be the hard part, right? Is you're going to have to face like, what percentage of your bins are out during the winter usually?
I would say maybe like 25%.
Yeah, it's low.
Yeah. And like
So
during the summer, we're like 95 at all times.
right. So I would do a two-pronged strategy. First, I would try promotion. I'd figure out a promotion strategy. You need to know your customer acquisition costs because if you're willing to give $200 away on a bin, what if you just did a really good ad strategy, you could pay 150 and get a customer
Right.
and not lower your prices and not do a discount thing, just literally spend more money on ads. And by the way, there's a whole bunch of brand awareness that happens to people who don't buy during the winter and they come to you in spring.
Right.
They don't show
Okay.
up in the ad cost, right? So I would first do that. A lot of times people are so quickly like, I'll cut $300 off. It's like, whoa, you can get customers for $150, right? So I would first figure out my ad strategy and really dial in like really good targeting, putting like how many people in your contact list? Like a few hundred?
Like 1,500.
Fantastic. You do a lookalike audience inside Facebook. So it's going after those people and then people that look like them inside of your market. Like, I think that's the strategy I'd be using. I'd be going after that one, and I'd make another one calling contractors out specifically, like attention contractors in XYZ market. Like I would make a contractor one, I'd make a residential one, and then I would focus on ads and figure out that CAC because that's the CAC that you'd be giving away, customer acquisition costs that you'd be giving away in form of discount. And then you just ask yourself, would I rather get new customers and go on the offensive, or would I rather go on the defensive, cut my prices and scrape by? I have a feeling you're going to be able to get a customer for under $200. And in that case, you'd rather just go on the offensive and get the brand awareness that residually comes in with ads instead of just giving a $200 discount and then becoming the discount brand.
Okay. Last question, real quick. So the commercial side of things, I have a lot of. So I own another company that deals with like commercial vehicle wraps and signage, right? So all my business there is B2B. I know a lot of contractors in construction, but like big level construction. So they don't use my dumpsters because they're using like the big boys, and that can's getting dropped and it could be there for 45, 60, 90 days, right? So in my opinion, that's two different business models completely. And I haven't wanted to explore the commercial side, right? But there is a part of me that's like, well, these cans are constantly out, they constantly rotate, and there is a return on investment with that. It's just longer. My cans make a lot of money because I flip them every week they flip. I guess just what is your opinion on those two different, business paths? Like, is it worth setting my can somewhere long term and only making money when they call me because it's full, which could be 45 days, 60, 90 days?
Yeah, I think that I would do that during the off season. So I would have a really good promotion strategy going into your slow season of, hey, our prices go to this if you keep the can during these months. But the can comes back to us in spring. Because they're contractors, it's B2B, they understand numbers and math and business. So you can just be honest, like, hey, where our residential people stop using them. So because of that, we now have this great deal for commercial contractors. As long as you keep it during these months, it's way cheaper. I think I would probably still do that after just trying to change the promotion lever because that's going to be an easier, like less of a drag operationally, just adding leads to the top of the funnel versus changing the model and how you do things in terms of pricing. But that would be my second thing I would go to is like, do I change the model to where like in October, I'm promoting to all my contractors that they can keep the bins longer. And here's the new pricing for contractors only, allowing you to potentially have a two-prong approach that you are for contractors, you give a discounted price because you know they're going to be keeping the bins longer, but they keep the bins that they're out. We want to get to capacity. And then you have another approach, which is I do ads to residential customers, but I'm not discounting it. I'm simply using the CAC instead of the discount.
Okay. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you so much for your time.
You got it, man. My pleasure. A few more here. Let's go ahead, Sergio.
All right, thanks for squeezing us in.
Hey, you got it.
So I have two quick questions for you. So this year, with Spring Rush coming around the corner, we plan on going into profit mode. And since maintenance is recurring maintenance is basically our bread and butter. How would you give me advice on how to deal with like the landscape projects that come upon, like let's say I have already a client that we do the maintenance every week, and then they say, hey, are you interested in doing this project? Such as installing sod, shrubs, all the landscapes. How would I deal with all of that?
Yeah, so like this is when it's going to become to play right here. Let me just pull this up. This is inside the book here. So this is what you're going to use this matrix right here. So if it's a one-time job and it's not time sensitive, your priority you're going to give them is very low, right? If it's a one-time job but it's time sensitive, well, now it's kind of in the middle. Like if you say no, I can't do this for 3 months, they might go find someone else, right? So now it might be more time sensitive. But this is the part that you have the most juice to squeeze. Is one-time jobs they're asking you to do. They're not time sensitive. You're trying to immediately book them in July, because during the spring rush, you're trying to focus on recurring time sensitive jobs, which most of the time is maintenance, because you can't let things sit for 2 or 3 months. Right. So I would just be in your market, you'd be like, these are the months where we are focusing on recurring jobs only. And the only way someone can squeak in is their existing customer with a very time sensitive project, and I'm charging them a premium price. But everyone else, like for example, in my market, when we hit April 1st, we are now officially booked till July 1st for projects. So if someone's like, hey, like, when are you next available? On April 14th, we're booking into July, because we just know we're going to have so much recurring work coming in April, May, and June. I don't want to be booking any projects.
Okay. So would you say that it doesn't matter? Because what I've been afraid of, like in the past, is not to book them in because, I mean, they're already my clients, right? But for them to say, hey, Sergio, well, I know that you're really busy, so I'm just gonna, hire someone else to go ahead and do it. Would it be, I mean, I guess it is what it is, or would you approach it a different way?
Well, the bottom line is, from your perspective, if you're at capacity, in other words, there's so much work coming in, you can't handle it. If they leave,
It is what it is.
you have other customers, right? We have to just look at it from a purely objective perspective, which is, if they left, if you have so much demand, you can't handle it, they're going to be replaced. And if they want to wait because they see the value in your service, they just want to stick with one contractor, they know and like and trust you, great. If not, I'm really sorry, Mr. Jones, we're booked out to July. Because I want you to be able to get as much recurring customers as possible during the peak, when you're not going to be getting those recurring customers in July and August. It stops.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Now, on my second question is, okay, so we haven't really done any marketing because it's all really been organically, recommended, like the neighbor comes out, whatnot. But this year I decided to started doing door hangers, which I was already getting a little bummed with one of the guys, I guess, did 80,000 and only 150. And I only did 5,000. So I'm going to try this out because so I'm a big believer. When the first time that I did marketing, I did business cards, and I would go up to the doors and I would actually knock to see if I could interact with the client or the homeowner. And that worked out pretty good the first year that I did it. Now this year I'm trying it a different way, because the year that I did the business cards, when they wouldn't open the door, I would just kind of slide it in the crack and just leave it there. But I know sometimes they'll miss it, or they'll open the door and it'll fall out. So that's why I'm doing the door hangers this year, just in case they're not home. I could just leave it on there. But I didn't put any information like anything like where they could fill it out, like an instant quote. I just basically put like our name of our company and like in the back, the information that we do. I don't know if maybe that's something that I should just, just finish the 5,000 and then change that, or is there any ways that, or other marketing ways that I should approach the season? If there's any other ways that I can do it.
Yeah, knocking on the door when you're doing it yourself is definitely going to be your highest, like the percentage is going to be the highest. Now, usually most people would rather, when they scale it, just do door hangers, mostly because it's harder to train people. Like, I don't want to get in the business of teach people how to talk to people at the door and knock on the door and like have a comp structure and all this stuff. So usually as the owner, I would knock on the door, because I know that I can get about 5 times as many more people to say yes if I talk to them. That being said, having the door hanger is going to way outperform your business card when it comes to if they're not home, right? So you're just trying to, like, the at home, you talking to them is going to be the best. Below that is going to be a door hanger. Below that is your business card. So you're definitely upgrading on the people that are not home. I'd still knock on the door if I was you, because you have the skill of gift of gab, versus training that is going to be a whole different business. Not to say you shouldn't do it. Like pest control, it's a big deal door to door. You can absolutely scale that up. It's just harder usually to focus on that in addition to operations.
Okay. Now, realistically, like speaking, for about 5,000 door hangers, what is like my percentage that I should, probably get out of that then?
If you can get 1 out of 100, you're crushing it. I think most people, if they're just getting started, 1 out of 200 is more likely. Depending on the time of year, depending on literally one day to the next, you can get drastically different based on the weather. So I would spread that over the course of a couple weeks. I wouldn't do it all in one shot, just in case you're early or too late. And then track the numbers from that. But if you do 1 out of 100, you're doing good. If you're doing 1 out of 200, it usually makes sense. Anything above that starts to not make sense usually. Just because the cost of just delivery starts to get too
Mhm.
high.
Yeah. Okay. Now, as soon as I finish those 5,000, would you say change it up like how you mentioned the QR code and that way it'll take them to where they could fill that out? I mean, would you say I would change it up like that?
First, I would do the 5,000 so you have a benchmark of
Okay.
how many customers you're getting per 100. Then I would do a split test, which is the next 5,000, 2,500 have a QR code, 2,500 of them have just where they completely write them in. And then you go split test that one variable at the same time, and you can very easily measure. Like I would do every other door, so that way it's not like based upon the neighborhood or the time of day or anything like that. But then if they scan the QR code and it comes in a form, that's from them. If they send me a picture with it written, that's one for that one, and you keep
Mhm.
track of those two things.
Okay. Okay. Um, Okay, now should I focus on more ways to market or should I just do door hangers for now? Maybe like the web. We have a website and I try to look at it on Google, but it's not, I mean, our ratings are pretty, well, it's a 4.6 or 4.7, something like that. But because we started implementing like getting reviews from our clients this year. And right now I have about 21 or 20 something reviews, but it's not like one of the first ones that pops up. So how can I help that, keep going up on the search engine?
Yeah, get more views. Also, I would optimize your site for conversion, not necessarily even SEO. Like I want a higher percentage of people when they get to your site to convert. So a few weeks ago on Home Service Millionaire channel, I did like an hour long of like diagnosing sites. Watch that, try to copy what I'm talking about in terms of like where estimate request form goes, the speed load, the page load speed, as well as like your images, your video being optimized. There's a lot of little things you can do to increase because like you don't actually care about ranking on Google. You care about getting
Mhm.
more leads.
Right.
So everyone like, how do I get on top of Google? Like, why would I want to more people to see your lousy sub shop, right? Make the sandwich better. Like, make it when they get there, they convert into becoming a lead. And so I would focus more of my attention on conversion, and then you'll get more reviews, SEO stuff. Yes, that's there, but right now the biggest lever you can pull is that if 1 to 400 people that show up to your site are converting to a lead, if you're going to change that to 1 out of 100, you will 4x the amount of leads you're getting. So instead of trying to get like incrementally better with SEO, let's just focus on converting more people that are already showing up at the website.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
You got it. You have a good one. Alexandra, you're up next.
Hey Mike, how you doing?
Good, brother.
I just wrapped up this last December, my second year in business. And for context, 100% of my marketing efforts for the last 2 years were in mowing clients and recurring revenue. And the way I attend those were through door hangers. This year, I'm looking at it in a second acquisition channel, specifically Facebook ads, doing an offer for that. And one of the questions I have three total is what my expectation should be for this year for the acquisition channel. Do you think I could try to learn it during spring rush and also try to take advantage of the season to get maybe 50 clients from that channel? Or should I purely kind of try to aim for just the growing season mentally, knowledge wise for Facebook ads?
What were your numbers on door hangers? How many door hangers did you put out?
In the last 2 years,
Let's just say last year, 2025.
maybe like 80,000 door hangers.
You put out 80,000 door hangers in 2025?
Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
You're the man. All right. How many customers did you get from that?
Um, I think it was around like 150 for mowing.
Okay. So not great numbers. We can improve that though, because you're right around 150. Like, I'm sorry, you're about 1 in 500 right now,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Okay.
Cool. Did you figure out a customer acquisition cost from that, Alejandro?
Yeah, it was like 150.
Okay. Um, what did you do in the door hangers? You have QR code? Like, what was your offer?
Uh, it was just the instant quote door hangers. For
Okay.
context, my first year I would get 3 clients for every 1,000. So I think the big thing was printed prices, but also my prices were
Slashing out.
higher in
Okay.
my second year.
Oh, I got you. I got you. I got you. Okay. Okay. How much do you have to spend on Facebook ads?
Well, I'm dedicating to door hangers this year 8,000, and I'm looking to spend from 2,000 to 7,000 for Facebook this year.
Okay. Yeah, like I would be really interested to see if you could just dial in your door hangers more. 150 is not great, like in terms of
Mhm.
customer acquisition cost, but I think you could do better, right? Like you know which markets are working well, you know when to
Yeah.
put them out. Um, I would really play with having an introductory offer, so a lower price that you cross out in the printed and you put like, did you do that already?
No, I was gonna add in this year I'm looking to do the first month free offer, and I think that alone will lower my acquisition cost from anywhere to from 150 to 100 to 120, just
Okay,
due
so
to better offer.
so I would recommend a few things. One, I would cross out the price and just put a lower price. That alone will increase your conversion dramatically because
Okay.
they're getting a discount. I would not offer a free month. It's too much cost to you because you have actual real hard costs on that. And that could very easily really backfire on you. If you want to give something away free, give away something like a fertilization or a core aeration that might cost you $5 or $10 in actual costs, and to them might be worth $200, right?
Okay.
So a core aeration that you are literally going to do in 10 minutes, you can value that to them at $200, right? So you can just say, hey, after your first month of service, you get a free core aeration, which kind of lines up with your spring rush. And that's a $200 value. You get that as part of being part of a mowing customer. Now you've done their service for 4 times. They're a solid customer. They've paid you, and then you can give the freebie. But I do the cross out on the door hanger. If you did that and the freebie around like a core aeration or a treatment, that should basically double your conversion from 1 out of 200,
Okay.
250. And then you can make sense of like a 70, $80 customer acquisition cost. That's something that can scale and probably is going to be difficult to beat in your first year of Facebook ads. Because everyone just thinks the new acquisition channel is going to be better. What's going to happen is you're going to start there with no information and you're going to have to do testing again. So
Right.
you know you have something that kind of works. Like if it's $150 customer, okay, it's not great, but we can
Right.
absolutely work with that and just make it better.
Okay. So as far as Facebook, do you think I should still try to experiment this year with it on a smaller level? Because I
You
see it
could.
happening. I would like to the following year full on use it as an acquisition channel. Um, given a better business, more funds, I would already be looking to market more. So I see it. I could prepare this year knowledge wise a bit.
Yeah, you could definitely test it, see where the customer acquisition costs are coming in. I see too many people thinking that a new customer acquisition channel is going to solve their problem versus just you already have a customer acquisition cost that you can work with and just refine and make it better. And I would not abandon a $150 customer acquisition cost. I just focus on making it better. So like
Right.
when I started Augusta and scaled, my customer acquisition cost was $200 because I didn't know what I was doing, right? So you can make it work. It's just a function of you can also just keep refining it and get 150 to 75. And that I think is very much possible by offering like a freebie around a fertilization, crossing out the price and giving a lower price. Do you have a QR code right now, Alexandra, or do you have them write it in?
Just for the website, it's printed pricing, so they just have to contact us and we schedule them.
Okay. So, but like, do they have to fill out their information on the door hanger and send you a picture?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So like switch to a QR code, immediately will increase your conversion rate. So if
Really.
you have a QR code that goes like a jot form, and then that information just comes to you, um, that's going to like increase your conversion rate there because now they don't have to write something out on their phone. If they scan a QR code, it will pre-fill the whole form. It knows their phone number, it knows their email, it knows their address. It'll do that in 2 seconds versus them writing out with a pen. Like I don't even have a pen for crying out loud. I have a
Okay.
marker, but like if someone gave that to my house, I would just be like, oh well, I can't fill this out, I guess, right? So yeah, I would try those few things. And then also, yes, if you want to spend a little bit on Facebook ads and try to improve it, great. I think that you have something to work with, and abandoning the acquisition channel almost always leads back to a waste of time and energy.
Okay.
And instead of just doing more and better of what you're currently doing.
Okay. Thank you. And my second question is this year, at one point I was billing over 200 invoices at the end of the month. And given it was my first year with cards on file, I wanted to reduce as many mistakes as possible. So I would quickly just double check every invoice, bulk double check them, and then I would bulk bill them. But I noticed that maybe it was just anywhere from 3 to 8 mistakes at peak, right? Do you think it's worth the time to try to do everything correct, or should I just bill and then they contact us and we try to fix the situation? Or should I be looking at installing maybe automatic like 4 week billing at this size? If not, when do I look into that?
Yeah, if you have auto billing on and there's mistakes happening, it's mostly actually your problem with dispatch board. Like a daily screening of did the jobs get completed correctly? Did they get skipped? If you do that every day, there should be no reason. Like when you say there's an error, you mean like a billing, like they got billed for something they shouldn't have?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and what's also happening, by the way, is they're not getting billed for something that you did do. That's, by the way, happening the same rate.
Uh,
It's just they're not going to tell you about it. So if you're getting 8 mistakes that they recall you about, you're also getting 8 that you're not charging for. And so this is actually much more of a scheduling and admin problem, which is on a daily basis, we're going to go through the whole dispatch board and make sure anything that was skipped is skipped, anything that was completed is completed. Nothing should be staying back last week or yesterday that
mm,
was not addressed completely. And if you do that every day, then at the end of the month, like everything should be automatic billing and no problem.
solid. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, 'cause Spring Rush was pretty crazy. And it was mostly me doing all 3 hats, but this year's a little different, which leads me into my third question and the last one. I will be hiring my first inbound VA over the next month to 2 months. And I've already created all the scripts slash SOPs for them. I made it a big priority during the off season. My goal is how do I not screw this up? How do I retain them? The hiring fee for them is like 3,000. So I'm using an agency to hire someone from like
Who
Latin America.
are you
Um,
using somewhere?
I'm using an agency online. I don't remember their name.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but my idea is I've created a bunch of the scripts and SOPs. I'm looking to probably create videos walking them through everything. I also have to do checklists, like reports at the end of the day, from my understanding, at least since it's the first time for me. Is there anything else I should watch out for, or you recommend I keep in mind?
What was your revenue last year?
200,000.
Yeah, it's like your admin person is not going to have a full-time job right now. So you can really create a lot of things for them to do, like reporting, checking the dispatch board, like all those things just need to have a solid SOP slash a video that they can just watch and copy. And so
Okay.
do that now and hire them a month before you think you need them because it is not easy to train them up. They are not
Okay.
going to step in and just watch your video and do it right. They're going to make so many mistakes. You're going to pull your hair out. So hire them prior to the spring rush. Otherwise, you will let them go in the middle of spring rush because they will be so frustrating, especially if they're from LATAM. It's very difficult to train them. They don't think they're
Okay.
just going to watch your video and do it correctly. I've just trained too many of them.
So what should I do actively on a day-to-day basis to make sure they're on track?
Do what you want them to do really well before you train them. So if you're making 8 mistakes a month on invoicing stuff, like we need to iron that out. The
Okay.
system is not good enough yet to actually train it. Because if you just train them at you're currently doing, that 8 will just turn to 18 very quickly.
Yeah.
And so we need to nail it before we scale it. So nailing it becomes we got to dial in things like that, the billing issue, so that when we train them, it's done right. Because
Okay.
otherwise, no one's going to come close to you on admin in terms of how you're doing. So if you're making 8 out of 200 mistakes, that's a 4% error rate. We don't want more than 1% error rate. If you're already at 4%, they're going to be 8 to 18% error rate. Can almost guarantee it. And what happens is you need to hit spring rush and you just will fire them because you're so frustrated.
Okay. And then on a daily basis for the first month or two, should I be meeting up with them, going over questions they
Daily,
ask, or should I daily, 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, as much as
15
needed?
minutes.
15
15
minutes?
minutes, they should be able to go through everything they're blocked on. So just say, hey, at this time, every single day we meet, and you go over anything that you were blocked by the day before, whether that be jobs that were messed up, reports that didn't connect correctly, someone not clocking out correctly, an email that someone's mad about. They have their time block, and they better be a very structured meeting. In terms of what you want them to go over in that meeting. Like, I want you to start with the email. Then I want you to go over our reports. Then I want you to go over future projects and stuff that you got to do, like in terms of scheduling, or scheduling materials and equipment. So I think you got to really dial those things in. Most people will end up firing their first overseas hire, and they'll be super frustrated. And then it'll cause a way worse problem in the business because you're going to go to 400,000 run rate this year, and then you'll fire them in the middle of spring rush if you don't have the right systems.
Hmm. Okay.
Just be careful.
That's all my questions, Mike. Thank you.
Cool. You got it. Brian, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Brian. That's Joe. Fayetteville, North Carolina here. So my wife's active duty. I got off active duty. I was doing this part time for 2 years from 22. I got full time when I got out technically, was it 2 years ago? So in 2024. So this last year we hit 400,000, about profit margin, about 30%. The part that I'm trying to still figure out is with my wife being active duty, she's going overseas for about a year. She's not going to know where we're going to go for about a year and a half. And obviously my wife wants me to go with her. My goal is to keep the business, run it. I've seen all the stuff you had, listened to some of your books on audio, and obviously the goal is to have a GM run everything, and then me just kind of, whatever state I'm at, help monitor, maintain, and stuff like that. So the couple questions I have is, what recommendations would you have for me with a short timeline of like a year and a half, 2 years to focus on? And then a couple of my mentors, one of them, he owns like 20 different little restaurants, Jersey Mike, stuff like that. He told me, don't ever give away like the money aspect of your business, because he's had multiple people like do fraud stuff for X amount of money. So he never gives away like the money part, if that makes sense. He always makes sure he maintains the books. He gives like, his GMs do all the GM work, but he always does all the money. So the two questions I have like that is, what can I do to set myself for success in a year, 2 years for when I have to leave Fayetteville in a general sense? And then do you guys do anything in general to make sure you stay safe of people like frauding you?
Yeah. So in terms of the money side, I would assume it's like access to the bank account, access to checkbooks, access to payroll, things like that. So a lot of that, yeah, it can be outsourced. I would get someone like a bookkeeping service to run payroll, stuff like that. So they never even have to touch it. And it's just like they talk to the bookkeeper when there's bank stuff, when there is stuff like that, or they talk to you. So you can absolutely make it where it doesn't seem like you're trying to guard anything, but it's just like bookkeeping and payroll, you go talk to this bookkeeper. And if you have questions about the numbers and stuff, you come to me. Like, and then they don't feel like you're guarding them. Like, oh no, you can't have the bank passwords. Like, no, like the bookkeeper they do all that. So for us, like a command center, it's like if the GM has a question, they're coming to command center about their bookkeeping, right? So I would really recommend using a third party for bookkeeping and payroll that you can keep accountable. So like home service CPA might be an option for you. I don't know, but like it'd just be a function of getting a bookkeeper that handles all that money stuff for you, and then it doesn't seem like you are this arbitrary, handcuffing them from that side of the business. The thing that I would be doing is probably entering profit mode somewhat prematurely. And so you might not be above 500,000 yet, but I would go to stage one and just start from there in terms of the stages of success, and like go into profit mode, focus 100% of your time and attention this year on recurring revenue, simplification of projects. Anytime you're getting called out on a project, we're cutting that service. Like if there's a service that only you can do, it's off, because you need this business to run without you. And to do that, you have to simplify and standardize. Same stuff every single time. It needs to be simple and easy to replicate. And if it's not those things, we got to get rid of it. And so the only marketing that I would be doing, Brian, is to be able to increase the amount of recurring services and simple services that you could replace the project-based stuff that currently is taking a lot of your time and energy. That's the only marketing I'd be doing in preparation for when you can say, all right, we're out, and I'm going to be able to leave knowing that I have a general manager that's been trained up, knows what's going on, and I'm not requiring them to do really complicated stuff.
So we do that already. Me and him are both military. He's still in the military. I'm ex-military. We like simple, stupid, because it's easy to communicate. So I keep my services simple. It's pretty much lawn care, bushes, and then every so often like sod and then seeding. That's essentially the only things we really provide. So we keep everything just basic in a general sense. So it helps us train all the employees with that. So that part's good. So it sounds like I just need to get a profit mode to get everything just running pretty much by myself or without me then.
Yes, like you basically skip that step if you're like, hey, it's all recurring, it's all simple services. Great. We still got to raise prices, go into profit mode. We got to find a general manager, train them up, and we've got to also make sure that they're incentivized, like creating an incentive system for that GM, because ultimately you just want to come back to a business that's doing slightly about the same revenue, maybe a little higher, and is running well. That's all your objective is. So if you have to give a big chunk of that profit away, I would not mind that. Like if I was you, I would be giving 50% plus of distributable cash to your GM. Because like, let's just say you have $150,000 of distributable cash. I'm happy to take 75 grand for doing absolutely nothing on the other side of the country or the world, right? Like I would really encourage you to incentivize heavily that general manager when you're gone. Because you need them thinking like you. And the only way to do that is make it where like a truck going down and having a $6,000 repair puts them out of a bonus this month. Like you need them to think like an owner. And the only way to do this is massively incent them on profit sharing.
Awesome. Thank you for the info.
You got it. Absolutely. And I would, yeah, keep the relationship good with Matt, because I'm sure he could always step in and help while you're gone. Jarrett, you're up.
I'm Mike Jarrett from Buckley, Washington. I have a quick question, but first I want to thank you for coming to Seattle last January. The Blue Collar Summit was a huge eye-opener for me and helped us dramatically in our business. My question is what you think our business should look like in our region at the 800 to a million revenue mark, and maybe a first step to implement right away. Currently, I'm running the sales, operations, and admin, and then bookkeeping and accounting are outsourced. We have 4 employees and hit 675 in 2025. In 2024, our payroll expense was much higher, and we only did 510. And I would say a lot of that is to do with going to Blue Collar Summit last year.
Awesome. Yeah, so like I think the first thing I'm looking at is delegating admin. The thing that's going to hold you back from being able to scale past $1 million, or even just being like having more freedom in the business, even if growth is not your objective, is going to be delegating admin. It's also the lowest leverage thing in the business. So like, if you can, do you have someone already answering the phone, or is it like you do all of that?
Yeah, it's mostly myself. Yeah, pretty much everything. So
yeah, and it might take you 6 to 12 months to really nail this. Find the right person or right answering service. But like right now, you answering the phone is like a $25 an hour task. When alternatively, you could just go do work for $100 an hour, or let's go crazy and go doing sales or sending a text message to everyone, which is probably $300 per hour worth value, right? So at your size, you're going to start bumping up against that this year, which is like you just get overwhelmed with admin, but because it's loud, squeaky wheels, your attention goes there instead of growing the business or focusing on the team, i.e. sales and operations, which are higher leverage than admin.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm definitely the bottleneck. I know that. And I've been stuck in my ways since 2012. And this is like a huge thing for me, just learning about you and all that you're doing for us. But that definitely makes sense. That's perfect.
Also on Home Service Millionaire, I think it was a couple days ago, there was I think the thumbnail says something like, go hire an admin or something like that. It was for a $1 million company that does gutters. It's called Downspout, the name of their company. I talk all about admin stuff, like a ton of stuff around admin, getting your first one. He's the same position. He's doing everything, and he knows like that's his bottleneck. So I like ad nauseum talk a lot of stuff about admin in that video.
Okay. And then so at the 800 to a million revenue, and just say I didn't want to grow past that. If that's the case, what do you think it would look like? Would we still have, so we'd have somebody doing admin for us, and I would still be doing sales and operations?
Yeah, like that'd be very profitable. If you can get an admin person to either work during your busy season, just even that, if they can work 6 to 8 hours a day just for your busy season, that alone will allow you just like flexibility. You have the margin, and you can focus on building a team and sales. Ideally, too, in the perfect world, you'd be able to get someone like virtual that can handle like 4 hours a day during the entire year to make sure like you're never in the email inbox, like you're never figuring out what's on the schedule. Like you can start delegating more to them, but all I'd ask is like anything with admin, get it off your plate. Focus on operations and sales. Running $1 million business, doing that, you can have very good margins, and I think you could basically just delegate just admin and be able to focus on operations and sales and get to $1 million.
Okay.
Yep.
And I thought I only had one question, but now that you say that, we're using Jobber, and we have been for a long time. And I just feel like I'm just like stuck. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I should do, but it doesn't have enough systems for maybe our size of business. I don't feel like, is that accurate? Would you say that?
Usually once you pass 500,000, you'll feel a little bit of that in Jobber.
Yeah.
The question just becomes, is it worth the pain of switching? And so like,
yes,
it just really would come down to that question. I think if you're not trying to grow a whole lot more and you're like, hey, we can make do, adding like switching softwares when you're not trying to grow rarely actually unlocks anything besides just a whole bunch of more tasks for you to figure out and like do switch over. So don't do it for the sake of like being in Homeworks. I would only do it if you're like, I want to reduce my marketing spend using the mass texting feature. That makes sense.
Okay.
I want to use
Yep.
the upsell feature with my crew. Like, you have a reason to flip over besides just like, oh, there's some pain. Because a lot of
Yep.
times you'll switch and there'll be pain in another area of any software because they're all built slightly differently.
Sure. And I'm doing all the sales and estimating, and I just feel like I'm guessing on the estimates a lot more than I should if it was, I mean, my brother uses LMN in Arkansas and I've heard good things about Homeworks, but just having more, I mean, everything about it, like the job costing and all that, we just don't have that with Jobber. And so I'm just kind
Yeah,
of,
and like the price,
kind of stuck.
yeah, and it might be too, Jarrett, that you get your admin, get them going, focus on that this year, and then
Yep.
maybe it's a matter of later this year when we have like
Okay.
the price book and instant quotes. That
Yep.
those are like the price book will help dramatically with the job cost thing.
Yes.
The instant quotes would be a reason why, in my opinion, people should like you'll hear me talk about Homeworks a lot more when we have instant quote pricing because
Okay.
no one has it. And I'll be like, this is a feature that in and of itself people should move over for because of the cost savings on admin and the close rate being so much higher.
Okay.
So you might just wait too, like grow the business,
Okay.
focus on the admin side, dial in those systems so that when you do the swap over, you're ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. And especially for like the Christmas light, we do the Christmas light. So like we had to do 35% install for
Deposit.
landscape install, and then 35% revenue is from maintenance, and then 30% probably from the lights. So I don't know, just so reoccurring jobs. I think that maybe another software, but yeah, I'll do that what you said. So I thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You got it. Last but not least, Drew, take us away.
As I was looking at the revenue thresholds for the different operational modes, it did seem to dial down to about 100,000 per employee. Um, 3 million, you may have up to 30 employees, right? 800,000, you may have up to 8 employees. That is drastically different than a solo operator. A solo operator, you're operating at possibly 200, 250K. Now, is that difference swallowed up in the overhead that the larger structure requires, or is it possible in the more complicated models to have technicians or your team, right, push past that 100,000 and operate more as solo operators? Why the extreme gap of $150,000 between the solo operators max and the appearing max in the other models?
Yeah, because in the solo operator model, every single minute is efficient. Usually I see efficiency scores around 110% for solo operators because you literally leave your house, go do the work. You're extremely efficient all day long. You're never stopping. So it's just inherently, you're usually around 30 to 40% more efficient as a solo operator because you have equity, essentially. The second part of that is when a solo operator, the reason I have the range from 0 to 250 is if you're just in growth mode, usually you're going to have to get an employee around 100,000 if you're trying to grow through it. But if you stay at 100,000 and like, all right, I'm staying here, and you start raising prices, because you have such small amount of supply, let's just call it one labor, you raise prices very quickly, very fast. I see people doing over $200 an hour for some solo operators that have just been in profit mode for 10 years. And they just keep raising prices because they have such little demand. Their pipeline is so full of a wait list of customers that want to get on their schedule, they just keep raising prices. And so it's really a matter of staying in profit mode that allows that revenue per employee to start inflating. So for example, at my Bellingham shop, they have about 6 employees and do 1.1 million. So they're almost around 200,000 per employee. The thing is, they've been in profit mode for over 5 years, right? And so it really comes down to how long are you in profit mode is the driving force usually of revenue per employee, and the inflating of that number really comes down to how long have you been in profit mode. That's why a location that goes into profit mode at 500, 550 can be doing $1 million a few years from then, with the same trucks and same employees.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, I'll let you close us off then. Thank you for your time.
You got it. Thanks for that. All right, everyone. Really appreciate you all. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Look forward to a great spring rush ahead, and we'll talk soon. Take care, everyone.